Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of RE056, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. Tonight's story is called Lighting the Torch, written by CherubielOne.
The ambassador of the human civilization will speak now.
On the call of these words, a human walked up to the speaker's podium in the Hall of Representatives. 1,000 eyes, or whatever biological equivalent that many different species had, were on him from other ambassadors on the seats that arched upwards in many rows. Representative Harknathos was amongst them. The civilization he spoke for was a late member, and he was only a third one after the ambassador that had handled the initiation into the Commonwealth. So he knew exactly how this would play out, and he also knew that hundreds of billions of beings were watching the live transmission from thousands of planets across the Commonwealth, for it was the very first official appearance of this new species. The aged human looked tired and disheveled, seemingly badly prepared for the task of speaking on behalf of his people. The only thing not making him appear disrespectful was that he actually had an ambassador's cloth draped over his shoulders. The long and slim piece merely adorned with just a few additional lines of colorful yarn. Honored ambassadors, representatives of all species in the galactic Commonwealth, he spoke the greeting in a clear and ringing voice. Surprisingly, he used the common tongue. Had the humans been this fast to learn it? It had caused a low murmur amongst other ambassadors, but it quickly died down once the human continued. My name is Valentina Fedorovna, and I am the chosen representative of all beings living in the human civilization. I am sorry that the proper delegation was unable to appear on the short notice that we were given. We did give up on expecting an invitation many cycles ago. As the civil servant in closest proximity, I am now speaking in their stead, though I certainly do not bring the soft diplomatic touch of my colleagues. The obvious rudeness of the human caused a number of the present beings to scoff, blow, or cough. This was not the way of things should be. He should have been begging for membership. It also seemed the dossier on the humans had been quite wrong. It stated that their species were only known since very recently. Meanwhile, the human just went on, ignoring any of the signs of protest. 30 cycles ago, we made first contact with the Nuamar people. They had once been, as you surely are aware, a member species of your Commonwealth until they were exiled from their own planet and barred from travel nodes. A flotilla of their refugee ships had made its way across the stars with sunlight engines in search of a new home. The only one to arrive had carried 15 million beings. I am certain you know how life forms handle cosmic radiation over longer than one generation. I am certain I do not have to tell you of the state they were in. We were unable to save half of them, but the rest we gave a home on our planet. They told us about the way conflicts were handled in the Galactic Commonwealth. They told us about the so-called Deathless Wars. And they told us what happened to the ones subjugated by the victors. We tried to contact you then, honored ambassadors. In lieu of hearing your side, we took what we learned for the truth. Know that I am speaking for the Nuamar now too. Over the last part, there were quite loud cries of protest. One ambassador especially was calling for the human speaker to be cut off. Harknathos identified him as a member of the people that had instigated the conflict against the Nuamar. Of course, there had been rules to the proceedings, and the humans still had time. So order was called and the noise died down again. But 30 cycles? So long had the humans been known already, and they did not get to speak until now. The last refugee ship had carried something exceptionally precious with it besides the many lives, the knowledge, to create a hyperspace connection node. 2 cycles later, we'd been successful in creating a stable one. I know you're aware of its limitations, but we were not. We had tried to contact you many times then, honored ambassadors, and with our guidance, we had to revert to experimentation. In the process, we lost many ships and a number of lives only to learn that it is impossible to establish a connection to any other node from just one side. This cut-off from travel seemed deliberate, and together with the communication silence, it gave us the impression that the honored ambassadors were trying to isolate us. Seeing that our node could only serve as an endpoint, we transmitted an open invitation for refugees of the Neuermar and anyone else displaced from their home. More calls for order. These accusations were very serious, and a number of ambassadors seemed to not want to wait for their turn to speak. It seemed impossible, though. This pre-FTL species just built a feasible connection into the hyperspace network of the Commonwealth from merely theoretical second-hand knowledge. One thing was for sure, that dossier about them was worthless. Harkenthos, and probably a large number of the other ambassadors, had been left in the dark about the recent history of their species. It was also obvious that the humans were crazy to broadly call for anyone to just come to their undeveloped world spelled suicide. We underestimated the number of species that were robbed of their planet or enslaved on it, and we saw a large influx of arrivals. By then, we had stopped asking you for anything, honored ambassadors, though we still needed help in ensuring order and safety. So we were actually lucky that the first large group to show up was a fleet of Jolkartai pirates. We welcomed them and offered them a home. They merely wanted us to spare their children from spending a childhood and life within the confines of a spaceship, and in turn they patrolled the hyperspace node, promising to protect anyone coming with peaceful intentions. I am certain you learned the force of their railguns, honored ambassadors, when you spent one spy drone after another. Just know that the Jarakai too found a home with us, and I'm also speaking for them. The noise had gotten ridiculous. Even the call for order had been enough to silence some, but the human just spoke on, raising his ringing voice over the commotion. Working with the people that followed our invitation, we colonized another planet and 2 moons in our own solar system before we made landfall in 2 neighboring ones. The hyperspace nodes we were able to connect to were the one near our home planet and still had new ships arriving every day. We saw more pirates too, most of them not as benevolent as the Jolkartai, and some of them only pretending to be pirates. We observed those and the constant spy drones to be the only sort of communication from the Commonwealth until the invitation to this very event, which I can only assume had to be an error. I want you to understand, honored ambassadors, that I am speaking for 65 billion beings across Earth, Mars, Titan, Europa, Baru, and Leitilla. I am speaking for 15 species that now equals in human civilization. I am not here to ask for membership to your Commonwealth. I am not here to ask for anything at all. I am merely here to state our invitation to every sentient being in the galaxy. Across the chaos that unfolded through the Hall of Representatives boomed a human voice. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. End of story.
I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.